All right, man, peace. So as we all know, Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest players in NBA history. I have him on my top 15 list, right in the same range as Isaiah Thomas and Dr. J, Moses Malone, etc. Many of his more ardent fans disagree with me, but as I state incessantly on this channel, this is not a fan channel. This is not a fanboy channel. I address everyone objectively because I have no horse in the race. I don't view sports as a mechanism for me to express any type of emotionality. Unfortunately, many so-called black men do. Why is that? Because our culture has been broken down. The link patrilineally has been destroyed. The patriarchy has been eradicated. And due to that, many so-called black men exhibit a lot of traits pertaining to influence from their mother. That's the reason why a lot of cats oftentimes fanboy out. You're supposed to appreciate the greatness of another man by acknowledging his hard work and the fact that he polished his gifts. But becoming a fan of another man, that's a no-no. Point being is this. I've addressed the sporting angle in regards to Kobe Bryant for a long time, and I've alluded to his Luciferian ties. I had not had the opportunity or the time to address it until now. So I'm going to delve into it as I am many of the other more prominent athletes, not only in the modern era, but in history throughout the major sports. Almost every major athlete, preeminent athlete, has been a Luciferian or is a Luciferian. And I'll be addressing the vast majority of them in due time. What does it mean to be a Luciferian? That you adhere to the veneration of the celestial bodies, the sun, the moon, the planets. That you believe in a level of meditation that will bring you in league with the spirits so that they can inhabit your body and take you to a whole other level of preeminence in your sport. That you practice the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system in some way, shape, or form, whether it be Buddhism or the occult or Wicca, or some other form of shamanism. You'd be surprised. Many of your most favorite athletes, they do believe in the craft. And Kobe Bryant is certainly one of them. As I'm going to show you in this video, I may make it more than one part. Who knows? I have a lot of information on him. I just need the time to go through it. But anyway, in the aftermath of Kobe Bryant accepting his statuette to Ptah, or what they call today the Oscar Award, for his animated short, Stephen A. Smith decided that he was going to dedicate the final segment on the show First Take to Kobe Bryant. And he made a statement. He recited a story about Kobe Bryant where Kobe appeared on the talk show that Stephen A. Smith had back in the day called Quite Frankly. Kobe was a guest on Stephen A. Smith's show. And there was someone in the audience who alluded to Stephen A. Smith being akin to a sports version of Oprah Winfrey. And Kobe Bryant is going to say something that is going to reveal the fact that he's been indoctrinated into the understanding of the Luciferian principles for a very long time. Many of these athletes enter into the craft from childhood. Certain portions of Luciferianism or the occult are embedded into many of their personality alters. Some of them don't learn about the craft until they get into college. Their first entrance into understanding many of the Babylonian / Kemetic mystery school principles is when they become a frat brother. And whatever fraternity they become a member of, they learn about the so-called Greek gods, the Kemetic gods, quote unquote, and the power that they can get from them by practicing certain rituals. Now, was Kobe inducted into a frat? Obviously not, because he never went to college. So somewhere along the line, he was instructed on how to tap into that power. And there's no doubt about that because he's going to show it. I know for a fact that one of Kobe Bryant's masters, as far as inducting him into the mysteries of the craft, was Michael Jordan. Phil Jackson was the person who commissioned Michael Jordan to instruct Kobe on various methodologies on how to raise his game and understand the mental and spiritual aspect of ascending to the highest levels of sport. And I have no doubt that Michael Jordan was one of the people who grabbed Kobe by the hand and made Kobe his apprentice, very much in the same way that Dr. Jerry Buss did for Magic Johnson. But anyway, we're going to let Stephen A. Smith speak. And of course, I'm going to chime in.
In case y'all forgot, about a decade ago, I had a talk show. It was called Quite Frankly. In the span of 18 months, I did 327 shows, interviewed more than 700 guests, which included practically everyone but Jordan and Tiger. Jordan was on his way.
Now, it's amazing to me that Stephen A. Smith could not get Michael Jordan on his show, especially seeing as they're both members of the same fraternity, that being Omega Psi Phi, which is the frat that commemorates, that venerates the Egyptian god of the dead, Anubis, the dog-headed god. And for those of you who don't know, that was the god that DMX was alluding to back when he was at his pinnacle of fame back in the late 90s. That's why he was always talking about the dog. For those of you who have DMX's initial album, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, I believe that's the album where in the artwork on the CD, he was in the bathtub of blood. He had been inducted into the mystery school system. Once again, you cannot attain fame in that world, in the entertainment industry world, without being put through the rituals. And they venerate blood. Once again, Asar is the god of the dead. And he is the entity who took over as god of the underworld in accord with Anubis. Anubis, the dog-headed god, who's also the god of the dead.
Actually joked that I was the male Oprah. Of course, I usually smile, blushing at the honor of being mentioned in the same breath as the iconic queen we've all known and loved for decades.
Speak for yourself. Oprah Winfrey is a mind-controlled MK asset. That's all she is. She was programmed to be the queen of talk. One of her main MK programmers was Carl Rogers, who was a very renowned psychotherapist who designed many of the more essential treatises in the psychotherapy world back in the 40s and 50s. I believe that he was a professor at the University of Chicago, and then he later on moved up to the University of Milwaukee. Another one of Oprah Winfrey's programmers was a person by the name of William Thetford. I covered that in a 3-part series that I did on Oprah. I'll probably be revisiting her down the line because I have a lot of information on her. But no, Oprah Winfrey is not a hero to everybody. She's just a hero to everyone in the entertainment industry. She is a mother goddess for them. She is proverbial Hathor for them.
Until someone said it to me in front of Kobe Bryant while he was in studio as a guest. And here's the response Kobe gave. To hell with Oprah. Be Harpo. Still wondering?
Now, did you hear what Stephen A. Smith stated? He stated that while Kobe Bryant was in studio and he overheard what the audience member told Stephen A. Smith, Kobe Bryant stated to hell with Oprah, be like Harpo. What was he referring to? He was referring to one of those quote-unquote deities that I've been telling you brothers about for a very long time. Harpo is an abbreviation for Harpocrates. And as the Greeks understood the image of Harpocrates, it was as the god of silence, the god of secrets, the seed, the origin of everything. The name Harpocrates, or as he was known as in the Kemetic language, Harupa-Kared, means Horus the child. He was always depicted as having the side lock because he was Horus as the child. He was always shown to be in the midst of the lotus flower. Why is that? Because the lotus flower in the ancient Egyptian culture, it represents rebirth. It represents reincarnation. And Harpocrates was viewed as Asar reborn, exhibiting all the traits of Ra. Because once again, the lotus flower not only represents reincarnation, it also represents the sun. Because the lotus would disappear at night and then it would reappear in the morning. So in the Kemetic mystery school system, they aligned the lotus flower with the sun. And the sun represented enlightenment. Ra was viewed as the great enlightener. Ra was basically the composite of Ham and Cush, as they were the ones who designed the system that's known today as the Babylonian mystery school system, because they carried on the practices that were utilized before the flood that caused the downfall of man before the flood. They reinvigorated that apostasy. Okay? So, Hippocrates, you'll oftentimes see him utilized in a lot of pop culture references, but subliminally. Like, for example, you had the famous comedy troupe known as the Marx Brothers. And one of the brothers was named Harpo Marx. What was he known for? He was known for having blonde hair and always being quiet. He never spoke because that was an allusion to Harpo. Harpo was also known as the god of mischief. And I've brought this up in other videos pertaining to the clown god. The clown god causes mischief. He is the initiator of chaos. So whenever you see that dynamic in films, whether it's Loki and Thor or the Joker and Batman, that is to exhibit the power of chaos and order. They always go hand in hand. That's why I remember the film Dark Knight, when really Batman was supposed to let the Joker go. He was supposed to kill him, but he didn't because he needed him. It's almost like that film Unbreakable with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, where Samuel L. Jackson tells Bruce Willis, now that I know who you are, I know who I am. They're dependent on each other because they define each other because they're the opposite. And that's what the Hermetic principles revolve around. The coming together of opposites. As above, so below, black and white, the checkerboard, so on and so forth. So Harpo exhibits all that. And of course, as the child, he's carried by his mother. He is the seed of his mother. Because remember, after Asar was killed by Set and Hippocrates was brought forth by his mother, she claimed that he was Asar reincarnated, reinvigorated. And of course, that was part of the mystery, that she could bring forth the reincarnated Asar. And he exhibited all the traits of his father Ra, who was Cush. So, to make a long story short, when Kobe states, be like Harpo, he's talking about venerating Heru. So, in other words, really what Kobe Bryant was telling you in that statement is that he is a Thelemite. He's a follower of Aleister Crowley. And we're going to see that as we go along in this video. And when I say this video, I'm talking about the video that I'm making, not this Stephen A. Smith production. So just pay very close attention, because as I always mention to you brothers, when you watch these movies, they're constantly hearkening back to that ancient time period so that they can commemorate their great liberator. Their great liberator is Asar and his reincarnated form of Heru. That's what we saw in the Black Panther. The Black Panther represented the ancient Kemetic pharaohs, who stated that they are Heru reborn over and over and over again. That's why the Black Panther, he owed his power to Bastet. Bastet is the mother goddess in warrior form. All right, Bastet or Sekhmet. That's where he got his power from. And the so-called heart-shaped herb, that was known in the ancient world as the Persea. That is why Hippocrates, meaning Heru the child, became known as Cupid, and he carried around the heart.
And why he's the Black Mamba? With him, it's easy to point to the superlatives. The 18 All-Star appearances with 4 All-Star MVPs, the 5 championships and 2 finals MVPs, being the scoring champion twice. If there was an achievement to aspire for, he planned for it, pursued it, captured it, conquered along the process, and placed himself in the debate as the greatest two-guard in the history of basketball.
No, actually, he did not place himself in that debate. This video is not about a sporting topic, but no. That's not a debate at all, other than from his most ardent fans, normally located out in the LA area. They're the only ones who try to make the claim that Kobe Bryant is the greatest shooting guard of all time. All that is nonsense. But why is Stephen A. Smith saying this? And why does he always stick up so hard for Kobe Bryant? He's doing this because Kobe Bryant, and I've mentioned this in other videos, is his informant. Kobe Bryant is the person who dropped dime on Shaq to Stephen A. Smith. Kobe Bryant is the person who was telling Stephen A. Smith that Jim Buss didn't know what he was doing. Kobe Bryant was doing that. He was providing info for Stephen A. And if you provide info for Stephen A. Smith will reciprocate by making sure that he lauds you on national television, even when he knows he's full of shit. He does the same thing with Carmelo. That's why I told you, brothers, that the reason why Stephen A. Smith is coming at LeBron James is because LeBron James is not willing to sit down and provide him with information. That's all it's about with most of these media people. And they're upset that they're being marginalized now because of social media and the internet. People are no longer trusting them for information. When I say them, I mean the regular media, the regular print media. They're now coming to the internet for information. There are now blogs that are getting the news faster than the mainstream media outlets, and it's bothering them.
What's been noticed along the way, but never fully appreciated, however, is the commitment to excellence he's religiously displayed, courtesy of 5:30 a.m. wake-up calls to work on his game, weeks after winning championships.
And yes, we're going to cover Kobe Bryant's workout, because even his workout is going to be a rather supraliminal allusion to his belief system, to his affiliations, but we're going to see.
Most players were still enjoying vacations that started in April. To be more specific, how about that time Kobe showed up for a meeting with a shoe company in a sweatsuit, then left the meeting early so he could practice on nothing more than his fall-away baseline jumper for 3 hours? It's easy to surmise that these are the kind of things that could get you a few championships. But who on earth knew it could get him an Oscar? I didn't know.
I'm not really surprised that it got him an Oscar because they have plans for him. As I told most of you brothers, do not be surprised to see Kobe appear in drag very soon. Once again, do not be surprised to see Kobe Bryant put on a dress and a wig on national TV, because that's the next step for him to show his loyalty to the craft. Kobe Bryant is a very intelligent person. So oftentimes with people like that, they may let them get away with not having to wear the dress immediately because they can maintain the secrets on a higher level. When you have fools, they'll make them wear the dress right away. People like Kevin Hart and Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, they make them wear the dress because they're low-level thinkers. They've been inducted into the craft, but they can't be entrusted with all the secrets because they don't have the mental capacity. Higher level people like Kobe Bryant, they'll let them slide a little bit longer. Michael Jordan, they'll let them slide a little bit longer. But eventually they all have to wear some type of wig or dress or something like that, because that is a way for them to proclaim that they understand that both so-called genders have to be brought together. They have to be synchronized because, remember, the Baphomet is an androgynous entity. So that's why you hear so many of these people talking about they don't believe in gender. People like Janelle Monáe or the Smith children, they're all being taught the same thing. They're being taught from the studies, the lessons of the Kabbalistic tree of life, which is actually the tree of knowledge. Okay? When you hear that term associated with the Kabbalah, the tree of life, it's not talking about the tree of life of the Bible. It's talking about the tree of knowledge.
Couldn't have imagined it. I mean, it was a poem, for crying out loud. On basketball, his love and commitment to the game, and the transitional ability necessary to walk away, still feeling alive and enthused about what's ahead, not what he was leaving behind. And it's that last part, when thinking about it, that ultimately hit home for me, that makes us all embrace Kobe Bryant, the Academy Award winner, with ease, because he always looks ahead. If he turned back, it was only to learn from his errors so they wouldn't be duplicated.
Once again, the Oscar Award goes all the way back to ancient Kemet, where they would give craftsmen and artisans a statuette of Ptah. Ptah, or as he was later known as Ptah Min, was the god of craftsmen, because in his character as Khnum or Benebdejet, the goat-headed god that we know today as the Baphomet, in his character as Khnum, he was known as the great potter. He was known as the great creator. He would craft. So, according to the Egyptian philosophy or the Egyptian principles, Khnum sat down at the potter's wheel and he created mankind. So in honor of that, every great artisan and craftsman in ancient Kemet would be rewarded by the pharaoh with these little statuettes of Ptah. Now Ptah later became known as Ptah Min, where he was always depicted as the god with the perpetually erect phallus. That's why he was always likened unto the goat. because the goat was known for its lust. Now, that deity became known in Greece as Pan, or in the British Isles as Cernunnos, Cernunnos, I believe it's spelled. The deer-headed god. Okay? That's where you get the term for interdimensional transportation known as CERN today. That's an abbreviation for Cernunnos. So that's an allusion to Cernunnos, I should say. Okay? But that's a whole other video for another day.
It's never to lament what might have been. You know what people who think like that are called, y'all? Winners. Congratulations, Kobe. And thank you for showing us all the way.
Now, did you hear what Stephen A. Smith stated? He said, thank you for showing us all the way. He was referring to Kobe Bryant being used as a tool for Luciferianism. I mentioned this in another video. Stephen A. Smith is a Luciferian himself. Once again, Stephen A. Smith is a member of Omega Psi Phi, as is his frat brother Michael Jordan. I believe Jesse Jackson is in that fraternity as well, as is Shaquille O'Neal. They venerate the dog god of death, Anubis. Okay? That is who DMX was venerating in his first few albums when he was on top of the world. DMX tried to rebel against that demonic possession. That's why they kicked him out of the record industry. He's going to have to battle with those demons for the rest of his life because of the deal that he made to sign to Def Jam, in which he agreed to become inducted into that veneration system of the Kemetic gods. But anyway, let's move along. All right, so now this is a very interesting article that I found pertaining to Kobe Bryant's training routine and what he decided to call it, and which is basically just him acknowledging that the very reason why he believes he's been so successful in the sporting world is because of the fact that he has bowed down the knee to Baal. He's bowed down the knee to Saturn. Once again, that number 666 is in reference to the quote-unquote hidden god, meaning who? Latinos, Lateinos, a.k.a. Saturn, a.k.a. Amun-Ra. Kobe Bryant is a Saturnian. That's why I made the statement that I made before about the so-called occultic tree of life of the Kabbalah. That's in reference to Baal, a.k.a. Saturn, the hidden god, also known as Amun-Ra, who was always depicted with the ram's horns. Talking about the same person. Who is that? That is Benebdejet, a.k.a. Khnum, the ram-headed god. All right? All goes back to the same thing over and over and over and over again. But look at this. I didn't write this article. They wrote it. And it's in reference to Kobe Bryant and his so-called workout system, which he calls his 666 workout routine. Let's see what it says. Today's morning motivation video focuses on Kobe Bryant. Unlike most of the recent workout mixes we've been posting, this 10 minutes compilation will probably motivate you more with Kobe's words and wisdom than weights and workouts in the gym. With that said, I came across an interesting article about Kobe's 666 workout in the offseason. Kobe Bryant has a unique way of training during the offseason, which is known as the 666 workout. Named so because Bryant trains for 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, and 6 months in a year. Sure, that's why he calls it that. The 6 hours of training are divided into 2 hours of track work, 2 hours of basketball skills, and 2 hours of weightlifting, which includes 1 hour of cardio. The track work includes HIIT, high-intensity interval training workouts like sprints, jogging, and walking for 100, 200, and 400 yards. All right, so now this is just basically getting into the particulars of his so-called workout. Oh, now let me see. This person here says, why does it have to be 666? That's foolishness. It should say Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. This person here, he caught on to it a little bit, but he's caught up in the church system. So even he himself is a venerator of Saturn, because that's who the church system worships. A lot of you who go into the church system, the so-called Christian church system, that's the veneration of Tammuz and Saturn. Okay? When they speak about the God and Holy Spirit and the Son in the church system, they're talking about Asar, Isis, and Heru, aka Tammuz. That's what they're talking about in that system. That's why you celebrate Easter, and that's why you go to church on Sundays and all that other stuff. All right? I'm sure that many people are going to get offended by that. Oh, well. For example, when you go to Catholic Church and you take the so-called Holy Communion, that is the divine wafer that represents Heru as the seed, as the divine bread. That has nothing to do with Christ at all. They claim that it's in reference to when Christ said that this is going to be my body and this is going to be my blood. That's why they have the wine and the wafer. No, it's not, because Christ was celebrating the Passover. He didn't tell you to start something new. Point being is this: Kobe Bryant's workout is purposefully named the 666 routine because he is a Saturnian. I tell you brothers this all the time. Saturnianism is huge in the entertainment industry. It's part and parcel to everything else. It's part of the Luciferian system. They call Saturn the black sun or the black star. Okay? They worship the planet Saturn. It's known in mythology, quote unquote, as Asgard. So on and so forth. Or one of the 9 realms. I told you brothers who are interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the first Thor movie, he sits down with Natalie Portman's character and he tells her about the 9 realms. He's talking about the 9 planets, and he points to his planet. He's talking about Saturn. Okay? They worship Saturn because Saturn is associated with presiding over destruction and rebirth. And I'll be touching on that in the video that I'm going to do on the review of the Avengers movie. That's why they had Thanos come from a moon around Saturn. Because when Saturn was depicted in the ancient mythologies, I mean, first off, he's associated with ancient Rome or the Italian peninsula. He was always depicted with the sickle. He was the great harvester. Meaning what? He brought death and then he brought rebirth. That's how he became associated with being the god of time. Remember, in Greece, he was known as Kronos. All right. But just getting back to the topic. As you can see with Kobe Bryant, once again, I didn't write this article, for people who say, oh, well, sometimes you take this too far and blah, blah, blah. Says here his workout, he calls it the 666 workout routine. Yeah, I bet you do. All right. So now we're going to go through Kobe Bryant's quote unquote muse cage, which is basically him telling his viewers, who he hopes are as young as possible, how to utilize witchcraft and divination in order to achieve your goals. Please pay very close attention to the background color. The reason why he has it as violet or purple or whatever you want to call it is because that is the color of the third eye chakra. He's trying to open up your mind so that you can understand how to tap into other realms, so that you can receive a lot of the quote unquote blessings that he received. What is he telling you in a nutshell? That the reason why he believes that he was so successful in his basketball career and why he knows that he'll be successful in the motion picture endeavor that he's partaking in is because he is dealing heavily in Luciferianism. He's tapping into certain spirits, and he's going to show you how to do so. That creature right there is his spirit guide. That's the entity that he spoke to. And if you ever read up on Aleister Crowley himself also was able to tap into the spirit world. And he states that his book, the Book of the Law, was dictated to him by an entity that acted as a representative of Heru by the name of Aiwass, Aiwass. He states that this spirit dictated the Book of the Law to him and basically gave him all the precepts for Thelema, which is the official culture and religion, quote unquote, of the entertainment world right now. And really all of the top, quote unquote, elite all across the world. Kobe Bryant being one of them. And look, I always bring this up. When you watch the film E.T., at the very end of the film, before E.T. goes back to his quote unquote home planet, and notice this little creature here, he slightly resembles E.T. as well. But before E.T. goes back to his home planet, and he's about to leave Elliot, he's about to depart from him, he tells Elliot, I'll be right here. And of course, his finger starts to glow his finger representing the magic wand. And he puts his finger on Elliot's forehead because he's talking about his third eye. He's telling him that you can communicate with me whenever you want because E.T. was conjured by Elliot. That's why the film took place around what we call today Halloween, but what was known in the ancient world as Samhain. Samhain is known as a liminal holiday, meaning what? A time period where the spirit world and the physical world were close in connection, and there were portals there where spirits could come through around Halloween. Even the Mexicans still celebrate it today as the Day of the Dead. Okay? That's where the spirits can come through. So basically, Kobe Bryant is trying to instruct your children and a lot of his more ardent super fans on how to be as successful as him by becoming a Luciferian. So let's see what he has to say here. And also pay attention to the fact that he's dressed in all black. He's telling you that he's a witch. When he uses that term muse, that term is referring to his spirit guide. That demon that's telling him what to do, guiding him on how to be more successful, how to reach that pinnacle, the top of the pyramid. What he calls the Kobe system.
Welcome to Muse Academy. I'm Kobe Bryant.
And I'm Little Mamba.
Now, for all of you Kobe Bryant super fans out there, why is your boy talking like a bitch right here for? I'm Kobe Bryant. Now, notice the creature next to him says that he's Mamba. What is that creature saying? He's saying that he's the serpent. He's a great enlightener. Okay? He's Kush. He's the one who came to enlighten the world, to liberate the world. That is Kobe Bryant's spirit guide. Okay?
We are here to tell you all about the word Muse Cage.
Muse Cage. What's a Muse Cage?
A Muse Cage is a room decorated with any and everything that inspires you.
Now, wait a minute. Did you see that? That first book looked like a damn spell book. Let me rewind it back a little bit. What is that book right over Kobe's right shoulder? Looks like a spell book to me.
Everything that inspires you. When you're in your Muse Cage, you are surrounded by musings that keep you focused and motivated.
Oh, that's amazing. Can a Muse Cage muse me to be a beast for my basketball game today?
Of course.
Can a Muse Cage muse me to be a beast like James Harden?
Sure can.
Can a Muse Cage muse me to be a beast like Russell Westbrook?
Absolutely.
Can a Muse Cage muse me?
Now, why did Kobe Bryant have his muse, the little serpent there that's guiding him, that he's trying to make out to be a kid-friendly entity? Why did he have that serpent talk about Russell Westbrook and James Harden? Because both of those brothers grew up in the LA area admiring Kobe Bryant. So he's taking them under his wing. In other words, he's going to do for them what Michael Jordan did for him. Michael Jordan acted as the master to his apprentice in the Luciferian principles, and he's doing the same thing for them. He's showing them how to climb up that ladder, go up to 33 degrees to ascend into perpetual enlightenment, where you can cross over into the spirit world, communicate with this quote-unquote spirits, really demons that are going to guide you to your destiny.
A Muse Cage can be whatever it is you want it to be, if you build it the right way.
Oh. I'm ready.
You don't need construction tools. to build a muse cage?
Oh, then what do I use to build my muse cage?
Your curiosity.
Oh, I don't get it.
Use your curiosity to search all over the world for musings that you can use to decorate your muse cage.
Oh.
The more musings you find, the more powerful your muse cage becomes.
Oh.
Every muse cage is powered by two forces. Light musings.
You're nice. Oh, thank you. You're great. Oh, so nice of you.
And dark musings.
Now, do you guys see how he made the light musings come into fruition? He just waved his hand. He's showing you that he's a witch. Okay? Now, when it says dark musings, it's talking about the planet Saturn. The light musings is talking about the sun. I mentioned this in another video. They believe within their witchcraft circles that there are good witches and bad witches. There's a sentiment that they promote in Harry Potter. They promoted it in Star Wars and many other films, that there are good witches and bad witches. In The Wizard of Oz, you had Glinda the good witch, you had the bad witch. Now, those of us who follow the scriptures, we know that there's no such thing as a good witch or a bad witch, but they believe that there are good witches and bad witches. So some of them follow down the dark path, some of them follow down the quote-unquote light path within witchcraft. That's what Kobe Bryant's talking about here.
You're a failure. Make it stop.
Yeah. Light musings make you feel good and happy.
Yeah.
Dark musings make you feel bad and angry.
I don't like dark musings.
Most people don't. But what they don't understand is that dark musings just may be our greatest source of energy and power.
Now, did you hear what Kobe just stated? He said that dark musings may just be our greatest source of energy and power. In other words, he's saying that he has taken the dark path. That is what the Star Wars film is talking about when it speaks about Anakin Skywalker. That's the path that he took. That's why I state that the film Star Wars is lightly based on the Bible. Lightly based on the Bible and the Kemetic Mystery School system, which is the Kemetic version of what occurred between Nimrod and Shem. Now, the Bible tells us from another perspective, from the perspective that the Most High wants his people to understand. The Kemetic Mystery School system tells us from another perspective in regards to the fall of Asar and his enemy Set, or as he also became known as, in depending on the version that you read, Sem or Semerket, who eventually became a pharaoh in Egypt. Point being is this: Nimrod or Asar was being taught both by his father Cush as well as by Shem. Shem was teaching him the ways of the Most High. Cush was teaching him the system that he was developing to lead the apostasy against the world. Eventually, Nimrod / Asar relented to his father. He turned against Shem, and he had to pay. He was put to death. Eventually, his mother had another child and claimed that he was reincarnated through the child. That's the point of the Star Wars film and what it tried to contort and change over. In the witchcraft circles, they believe that there is a dark witchcraft and there's a light witchcraft. They worship both the sun and the planet Saturn, which they call the black sun. Now, the people who venerate the black sun, they have no compunctions about what they do. They don't feel any guilt. Now, those who follow according to the sun path, they have to follow the same rituals, a lot of the same rituals like sacrifice, so on and so forth. But sometimes they feel like they have to justify it or claim that they're doing it for the good of something. Now, for those who follow Saturn, who is the god of death, the god of the reaping, they could care less. That's all Kobe's talking about. He does not have any hesitation in embracing the dark path. In the same way that Anakin Skywalker didn't. He embraced the dark path.
If you're looking for your inner beast, it's most likely living inside of a dark muse.
Really? I don't know.
Did you hear what Kobe stated? He said if you're looking for your inner beast, it's within a dark muse. This is what he's teaching Russell Westbrook and James Harden. I guarantee you that. That's what he's teaching them. That's if they have not learned that already a very long time ago. Okay? That's what the myths pertaining to the werewolf is about. Remember, I told you that one of the incarnations of Nimrod, he was known as Wet. W-E-P-W-A-W-E-T. He was the wolf god. He became known in Greece as Lycos, Lycos, the wolf, or the wolf man. A lot of the sacrifices that were made on the Lupercalia were in honor of him, the wolf man. And that's why we still have that myth today about the werewolf. That's in honor of him. The people would eat human meat, the person who was sacrificed, and they would indulge in their inner wolf. That's why Kanye West had a song on one of these albums called Werewolves, I believe, because he indulges in human sacrifice and higher level Luciferianism, allegedly. But I'll be covering him on another video.
I like feeling bad and angry, but I do need to find my inner beast. What should I do?
Now, you'll see this imagery used a lot, especially around the time of the NBA Finals. The NBA trophy for the finals was set up to be an allusion to the sun. That's why they have it framed here in juxtaposition to the sun. Pay very close attention when you watch the finals on television. You'll oftentimes see the players in a pose of obeisance before the NBA trophy, worshiping it like an idol, because it's supposed to be a stand-in for the sun. The reason why people venerate the sun is because the sun is supposed to symbolize enlightenment. Like you have a lot of these guys who are into the Kemetic or quote unquote ancient Egyptian form of worship that tell you about how the sun gives light and the sun gives life and it's the preserver and it provides light, etc. That's why you worship the sun. No, the reason why people worship the sun in the ancient world is because they made an alignment between the sun and the human being who walked the earth, who they felt like brought enlightenment and lucidity and freedom, liberation to them. That's why you have the sun god known as Ra, because he was the one who taught mankind about how to leave away from the practice of worshiping the Most High. And he taught them civilization. He taught them about irrigation. He taught them about domestication of animals. He taught them about engineering, so on and so forth, things that they could have learned anyway. But he was the one who brought that knowledge, so they bowed down to him as a god. Remember in the film Return of the Jedi, I believe it came out in 83 with the Ewoks. What did they do when they saw C-3PO? They started to bow down to him because he was gold and he was glittering. He represented the sun god. They were all set to sacrifice Luke and Han and I believe Leia. Remember that? They were going to sacrifice them to their god. But then when they saw C-3PO, they started to bow down to him and worship him as the sun god. And that was a very thinly veiled mockery of the ancient Aztecs. That's why the moon was known as the Moon of Endor. Endor was a city within the realm of Issachar when you read the scriptures. Okay? That's why I tell you that George Lucas got a lot of material for his films from the Bible, and of course a lot of other so-called ancient versions of history.
This is the face of a man with a dark muse cage. This is the face with a dark muse cage.
Now, do you see that? You have the image of the train coming towards you once again, framed right in front of a sun shape. Let me rewind it back just a little bit.
This is the face of a man with a dark muse cage.
Once again, we see the NBA trophy aligned with the sun, the worship of the sun. Kobe Bryant is a Saturnian and he is a sun worshiper. He's showing that he's a Luciferian. Okay?
This
Another film, now that it's jumped to the forefront of my mind, that basically positions the good witch against the bad witch, or good witchcraft against bad witchcraft, is the film The Last Dragon. Bruce Leroy, he has a certain level of enlightenment at the end of the film, but Shonuff also has his own form of enlightenment. They were both witches in that movie, by the way, even though the film had a relatively good message overall. But when you truly understand what they were conveying, that was about enlightenment by embracing yourself as God. Okay? Now, we know that you could take a good message from that film and understand that you have to view yourself as a master. Once you view yourself as a master, then you'll have a ruling class mentality. But they were truly just talking about a master mason. But that's a whole other issue for another day.
Everything you do, everything you say, he will simply use as fuel to power his game. He will simply use as fuel to power his game.
Okay, so now I just wanted to revisit a particular scene within the animated short for Kobe Bryant's film Muse Cage, in which he depicts what appears to be some type of a demonic spirit hurling lightning bolts at the locomotive that represents Kobe Bryant and all of his motivations and his ability to overcome all obstacles and stumbling blocks, etc. It's very obvious to me that this creature actually represents the Most High of the Bible, because as we all know, Satan is normally depicted in conventional understandings as a creature that lives under the ground, not up in the clouds. It's actually the Most High of the Bible, as he's understood by most people today, who's associated with being a personage that hovers above the clouds and hurls lightning bolts at people that he despises or energies that he's against, so on and so forth. That is why many of the Luciferians try to make some type of a congruency between the Most High of the Bible and Zeus or Jupiter, etc. Well, it's obvious when you watch this animated short that this is actually meant to be a very veiled castigation of the Most High. And what Kobe Bryant is confessing is that he was able to come to a higher level of understanding on the basketball court and gain a greater degree of success once he was indoctrinated into the Luciferian ideologies, and he started to view the Most High of the Bible as a hateful entity, which is what they teach in the Luciferian mysteries, which is that the Most High of the Bible is hateful. He's angry all the time, while their god Bacchus is the god of love, because that is what he is, but he's the god of emotional love and carnal love. He's also the god of orgies and wine and the theater, etc. Once again, do not be surprised to see Kobe Bryant appear in some form of feminine attire or cross-dressing in the near future. Bacchus is also the god of cross-dressing or transvestism, or whatever the appropriate term would be for a man who puts on female clothes and a female who puts on male clothes. Remember, he was recognized as a deity with both male and female parts. Okay? But upon closer scrutiny, you can see that this so-called demon, or this quote-unquote satanic-looking figure in this video, is actually a mock-up of the Most High. Now, once again, in regards to the film The Last Dragon, please remember that the serpent or the dragon is not a symbol for wickedness. It's a symbol for wisdom. And you have wisdom on the right-hand side. You have wisdom on the left-hand side. So I'll probably be covering that film another day, another time, because that movie is very pertinent. It has a lot of good messages, but the core tenet of it is the ascension to mastery, and they're referring to the Master Mason. But that movie also used a lot of biblical imagery. But once again, that's another video for another day. So anyway, on to part 2. Peace.